Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Zwift Community Live broadcast of the WTRL Team Time Trial. We are into number 165 out here today. Nathan Guerra here, Dave Towle, and Anna Russell joining me as well. It's been 3 weeks off, guys, and everybody's taking a little bit of break. We wanted to be like, and we wanted to say hello to everybody quick and let everybody know what we've kind of been up to. I think it's going to get cold down in the lands down under right now. I wonder if there's more Zwifting going on down there or if it's getting outside. I know, Dave, you've been traveling a little bit. Dave, why don't you go first? Let us know what you've been up to for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, you bet. I'm very curious to hear about how Anna's doing down there, I must admit. So, yeah, I was just in Asheville, North Carolina last week. Anna, it was probably 34 degrees Celsius where you are. Extremely
don't
hot
tell me
and
that.
muggy. Yeah. Hardest race in the East Coast, no doubt. 130, it's the Belgian waffle ride, Asheville. 130 miles, Nathan. 13,000. Some people said on their GPS or their Garmin that it was reading at 14,000 feet of elevation. I was thinking you would have loved it, especially because you're acclimated with that Wisco heat. I bet it's getting hot there too.
It was 95 degrees Celsius yesterday or something along, or not Celsius. Yeah. Fahrenheit. What was it? 34 Celsius or something along those lines. It was insanely hot yesterday.
Yeah. And before that, I was at Stetna's Pay Dirt in Carson City, Nevada the week before that. So, and that was incredibly cool as well. So yeah, I've been at cool events, having fun, but I'll be back in Colorado now for a while. So I'm going to throw it down to New Zealand, Anna, as I see you have long sleeves on. It's the first time I've seen anyone in long sleeves in a while.
Yeah, it's pretty cold. It doesn't get too cold here, to be fair. It's about like 15 degrees. It's still double digits, so we're all good. My 3 weeks off has been really boring. I got COVID pretty quick.
Oh my gosh. Well, you call that boring? That sounds intense.
Oh, I never want to repeat a week in my life of having 3 kids under 5 with COVID. My husband and I with COVID. It was grim. So I actually was living vicariously.
Everybody got it. Everyone in your house
within
got
a day.
it.
Everybody got it. And I lived vicariously through your guys' Instagrams. And Nathan, I want to hear a little bit about Germany, to be honest. I mean, that looked phenomenal. Tell us about
it wasn't a whole lot. We did some riding. Which was good. Hiked a mountain, which was the first time. And there was a lot of food. And the only reason the food was shared is shout out to Cyrus No Pins and their rider JJ, who really encourages lots of food sharing on Instagram. So I said, okay, I'll put a full-on food montage together. And I got to say, Germany knows how to do food and beer very, very, very well. So it was absolutely awesome. And then hiking a mountain, I've never really hiked that. I think it was like a 12-mile hike, a 20K hike in total. And my legs were done, absolutely done. So that was my training well there, essentially. And got some pretty cool, the really cool thing I like about Germany is every city has these city centers that are just amazing. They like every single one of them have, and it's like they do it on purpose. And you can always find a bakery there. I'm probably saying it totally wrong, and find that the best pastries you've ever had. So, anyways, I could go on and on about Germany, but it was definitely awesome. Highly 10/10 suggest as far as culture goes. 10/10.
It's almost like those Europeans knew what they were doing. Or something, So I wanted to add one thing, Nathan. Whenever we're out in the public or at events, I should say, in real life events, I love running into Zwifters. And I had a young woman named Danielle come up in Asheville, who's an ecstatic Zwifter. I got her Erin's contact info because she was looking maybe to find a team. So I thought she'd be a perfect no drama llama, or at least in the llama family. But it really connected some dots for me, and it gives you that really awesome feeling about our community. So I told Danielle I'd give her a shout out here on the broadcast. And so Danielle, it was a pleasure to meet you for sure. And I tell you what, she was kicking ass. Anybody who was out there doing that Belgian waffle ride had a lot of courage, much like our WTRL.
Did you see Whitney post there? I think
Whitney. I did for sure. And Jen Reel and a bunch of our friends.
Yeah, Jen's been at all the gravels.
So Toad is this week, and I have literally I believe Michael and Whitney are going to be camping outside the house. And
no way.
I'm not kidding. Yeah. And I'm going to head into a lot of the Towle races. I don't know if I'm going to be doing a lot of them, but I'm really focusing in on the mountain bike. And I've been racing mountain bike too as well. It's also happened while I was gone. Definitely I'm seeing a ton of Strava posts right now from a lot of Zwifters from all over the world in my local area. So if you're at Towle, I'm going to have my head up and I'm going to be looking for where are the Zwifters at Tour of America's Dairyland.
Yeah, make sure you post some pictures on socials for us because we're going to be super jealous of that. I did want to add, both of you two, have you ever heard of, so obviously Everesting has been a thing. It's sort of tapered down a little bit as people got back out there. But one of the gentlemen at the ride this weekend has Everested 4 times in 1 week. You ever hear of anybody doing that? I told I'd ask you guys. I doubt you have.
No, I've never heard anyone doing that. I am actually going for the New Zealand women's Everesting record this year.
Really?
So I do know. I do know a little bit about Everesting. Yep. So I've picked the climb, Rickied it a few times, and now it's get a bit fit to ride that long. I'm not used to riding that long, but Everesting, my husband did it about 6 years ago, and it's full on.
Nathan,
I saw Kristen Kolchinsky did it on her birthday. Like that was her birthday gift to herself to go do an Everesting. Like, oh my goodness, right?
Yeah,
right?
8.5 hours of suffering. That's happy birthday, KK. So Nathan, have you ever? I've never noticed you on socials. You've done everything there is.
No,
but I don't know that you've
my longest trainer ride was a 13-hour ride for what was it for?
Was it 24 hours of Zwift that we did?
No, it was charity. It was charity with not Quebec, but with come on, Nathan. I'm totally losing. We buy bikes.
Not World Bicycle Relief.
World Bicycle Relief. Thank you. I was losing it for a second there. My brain was too many different places. World Bicycle Relief. We did a charity stream on my personal stream on the World Bicycle Relief Day, and I did 13 hours, which I could have done in Everesting in that time, but that wasn't a thing at that time. Everesting was something super. I think shortly after that, Everesting started to become a thing with Frank Garcia. I think was one of the first ones, along with a couple others actually, which is really funny that Frank Garcia was actually one of the first to do that. Anyways, now we're getting into all kinds of Zwift history all over the place. Well, that's what we've been up to. We want to know what you've all been up to as well. So let us know in chat what you've been up to. One thing that's definitely been going on though with the WTRL is results. There's been all kinds of results going on, and we definitely wanted to highlight what's gone on since we've been gone and who's just been the winners and committed as we get into more of the summer season throughout here. So let's just take a quick look here at what went down over the last couple of weeks. We'll just highlight the winners. BBB's been super committed in the Vienna Espresso. They took it down ahead of the Crush Pod Affogatos in the Vienna Espresso back in 162. It was NZ Bro Pavlovas there in the Vienna Frappes. Do you know them, Anna?
We all know each other. This is a small country. We know everybody.
Gotcha. Well, Pavlovas took it out there, and then it was Vienna Latte here with the Crush Pod 2 in 162. It was Adam Racing Team Electrons with a 39.24 and a 162 as well there. And so, bro, I think this is going to be this is going to be the theme. 29.57. That's going to be close to a course record, actually, and that 162. Wow. So nice job on them. Sub 30 minutes on any team time trial for the WTRL is absolutely huge. Itert Animales here coming on through there for first in the Espresso back at 162. Dirt Time Chasers Terras, and then it is going to be ATP Racing Nitrogen with the 35.19. And then it was the RR Samachin Rhinos. That was 162. The following week, it was actually the Beach Island Loop that the riders jumped out on for the 163. And in 163, it was only BBB that showed up. It was a little bit quieter there for Vienna Espresso, I think, as people are starting to get outside. And then, again, Cheese Rollers, NZ Bro, Soxwatts, Ogsox showed up, though, to try and take down. That's an interesting situation there. Anna, can you speak to those top three just real quickly? Because NZ Bro taking on Soxwatts, that's kind of a big deal, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've raced for that cheese rollers team before as well, and they're just getting stronger and stronger. So, I mean, the case here is New Zealand is in winter. We've actually got our local Zwift race series happening right now. So it happens every Wednesday night, and people are just trying to get really fit. And there's a lot of new people coming in because it's winter. So they're getting some very, very strong riders. So that's probably what's happened there is they've got the game, they've got the riders in, and they've managed to take out Socks for Watts.
Yeah, Socks for Watts 1 minute ahead of them at 163. That's a big result. Nice job of the cheese rollers. Ghost Chups there, NZ Bro, making it happen. Everybody heading inside, it looks like. It's cooling down for sure. Vegan Mint and Kirchmer there behind them. Those are some big teams to take out in Vienna Latte, so nice job to them. And again, NZ Bro, we've got a theme going on here. The Lamb Chops with the 50.08 at 163. In the men's side of things, NZ Bro, Pekka, man, these guys just don't stop. Eater and Animales, they're in for second, and then it's the Monteith Monsters there for that third in the Doppio. It's going to be Evo Gladiators taking it down for the Espressos at 163. It's Dirt Time Chasers Terrors again, repeat for 163 at the top of Frappe, and then Vikings Mjolnir get ahead of NZ Bro. Not a common theme that we've seen of NZ Bros involved, so nice job to the Vikings. And then Mocha's TFC Hurricane. Where'd the Rhinos go? Maybe they didn't show up on the day, as that's what happened with 163. The following week, and the last one we're going to cover here, it is, did they jump into Beach Island Loop a second time at 164? Or we just got the, maybe it was a different one. Not sure, perhaps. We'll have to wait and see if that's not correct. I'll double check. But BBB, again, the only Vienna Espresso showing up for 164. They've been super committed, and we have them on for next week for all that commitment they've been showing, so good on them. Looks like Rayvon, we're trying to challenge NZ Bro. No, Soxwat's had a really hard time, all the way down in 6th, actually, so maybe a lot of them getting outside.
4 riders.
Oh, good call. Good call there. Yeah. Well, and so that's a good point there, Anna, that those who can grab enough bodies tend to have a little bit more rest time between the poles.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, 7 versus 4. You can see 7 with the NZ Bro teams. Yeah, you can have the strongest 4 riders in the world, but 7's going to be a lot easier on the day for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah, of course. Here, Vegan Mint, as you can see, it quieted down in the Vienna Lattes here. Herd of Flamingos and then the Rockies. Jumping on over, Adam Racing Team Electrons. They took it out in the Viennas, it looks like. And it was ZR Scott and WCC Infernos battling for the top 3. Again, NZ Bro, Pekka. Watch out for these guys. They are unstoppable. Dirty Watts Alpha. CMC Express, never heard of that team, honestly, so maybe this is a new team to be watching out for, because Doppio is a very solid class to try and get into. Interesting to see a new team suddenly popping up in the Doppios. That's almost unheard of. Dave, Anna, have you heard of CMC Express? Either of you?
I haven't heard of CMC Express at all, yeah, so this would be a good one to watch. It'd be good if we can get eyes on them. I didn't even know what their kit looks like.
I mean, just to jump in the Doppio too, like out of nowhere, that's a pretty big deal. Pretty big deal. So good on them. Go ahead, Dave.
100%. I just wanted to add your comment. The only time, Anna, that I could see 4 riders having a chance is if it was one of the very severe courses with massive amounts of climbing that Martin sometimes pulls out of the hat. That's you're right. I'm 100% agreeing with you. But the only chance I could see a team of 4 beating a team of 7 or 8. Yeah, for sure. But back to you,
or
Nathan.
If the team of 4. Sorry, or if the team of 4 is Wout van Aert, Ghana, then you're looking at.
Sure.
I don't want to say no team of 4 could win. That team.
No,
maybe
you
that's what
didn't
CMC
either.
is.
Yeah, no, I don't want your point was 100% correct. It is always exciting, Nathan, to see new teams. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll get through these quickly here. Evo Warriors, they took it down to 164, and then it was Dirt Time Chasers Terrors there again. They have been dominating the last 3 weeks, it looks like, in that Frappes. It was Vikings Valhalla in the lattes, and then Tugas, a little bit of change up. The Mochas seem to really be changing every week, so good on them for having a lot of high-end competition week in and week out. And then today, we'll jump into what's going on today in just a moment, but we're actually have a guest who's just shown up with us, and this is something that we're looking to do on the weekly. Next week, I said we do have BBB jumping in with us, as we do want to highlight what's happening in the TTT and the TT teams. But there's also something that we want to try and do here on Zwift Community Live, is to bring in a voice from Zwift and get a little bit of updates about what's happening with Zwift and how they're trying to connect with the community and what they're doing, essentially, for all of you. So let's go ahead and, with no further ado, our guest today is Flint McKinnis, actually. He is product manager for competition and AI. Flint, it's good to have you here with us. Flint, why don't you just give us a quick little introduction about, some people might recognize you from the forums. If you haven't checked out the Zwift forums, you definitely need to head on over there, and you will see lots of updates that come from Flint. Flint, why don't you just tell us a little bit about what your role is at Zwift, and maybe a little bit about those forums too.
Yeah, no doubt. Happy to kind of answer questions as they come up. There's a lot to unpack. First and foremost, thanks. I'm really excited to do this. To get the invite from you, Nathan, was fantastic. Anna, I've never met you. Dave, I've never met you, though I do know your famous one to go chant from many a Manhattan Beach and Dana Point Grand Prix. So when I think of those races, I'm like, oh yeah, it's Towle. Got it. So it's cool. It's cool to be here, right? Like amongst cycling legacies and Zwift greats and the like. So I appreciate it. As for what I do, product management, right? Like the title, some people might know what that is or might not know, but it's actually fairly basic. Really, my job is to identify what we should be building under the realm of competition and AI. So when we say AI, it's things like pace partners, for example, right? Like the bots, but it's to kind of say like, okay, hey, this would be nice. I'd really like to have this feature. We believe that it would be a good thing to make. Here's the data, and then here's some community sentiment to back that data up. Let's talk about how we build it, how we prioritize it, and go from there. So I work with a lot of the engineers that are responsible for things like category enforcement and upcoming hardware restriction and making improvements to racing, etc. So that's like the very
those two things he just said, like boom, like that was like, oh, there's like 3 huge boxes that we could just like unpack. Like, did you just say hardware restriction, category enforcement? Like, we're not going to go into all those boxes right now, but these are things that the community has been talking about for a long time. I know this is right down Anna's whiteboard type, what's all the questions. And so, Anna, is there anything, like when I gave you the pre-show and the run of show about like Flint's going to be on board here, was there anything that maybe was crossing your mind that you wanted to jump into?
Oh, Flint, firstly, the first question, which was random, was, where is your name from? I know that's totally off topic, but your name is quite unique.
No, maybe we should do a little more about like what's your background in cycling too. And let's get to know you first, Flint. He'd like.
Sure. So my first name is my dad's middle name, and it's what he was called throughout university and stuff. But it also was like a bit of inspiration from his sister, because when my mom was trying to determine names for me with my dad, my aunt Mitzi was saying like, oh, I already have 2 boys, but if I had another, I'd name him Flint. And they were like, oh, we really like that, so we'll go for that. Plus it's got the family legacy in there a little bit. So that's where the first name comes from. The second name is, or not second name, the last name is, I think it comes from Scotland, but we don't have like very thick Scottish ancestry roots as far as I know. But I do know that it's not MCG, which I've had to correct many school principals on for the visits I've made to those offices. So yeah, that's where the name comes from. But I like the question.
Hey Anna, I'm going to take the next one if you don't mind. I'll take the baton from you. So if you must be a bike racer, Flint, if you recognize Dana Point and Manhattan Beach Grand Prix, and obviously you're in Southern California. But can you give us your racing resume or basically how bikes came into your life?
Yeah, absolutely. The racing resume is hardly impressive, so I will get that out of the way now. I was definitely much more of a watcher and participator, an avid group ride winner than I ever was like race official winner. So no pro 1-2 races for me, because I never wanted to do the work in the races to move up in the ranks, but I always trained as if I were, which is kind of a dichotomy. But mainly where I was focused is the reason I got into cycling. I'll start there and then go to racing. There was a shop in Newport Beach a long time ago called Bike Religion that I started working at as just a summer job, and I had no cycling experience. It was just a friend of a friend, and they're like, "Oh, we need some help with sales." I said, "Sure." And I got this, idea. I said, "Well, if I should sell bikes, I should probably know what, cycling is about. So I should ride them a little bit and understand the product." And I started demoing bikes from the shop and getting hand-me-down kits and old socks and shoes, how it always starts with people. And then I just kind of fell in love with it because I realized I think I'm one of those weird folks that finds fun in the suffering, like when it gets harder is when you start to really enjoy it, even if it's not right there in the moment, which is kind of what unites us all as cyclists. Like it's a very hard thing to explain, I find, but that's what I found I really enjoyed. And so then I started riding a lot. I used to do the Great Park races in Irvine before they got rid of those. And that was when I was working at Shimano on the phones doing customer service for all the North American dealers.
I had the exact same job, Flint. I worked at 100 Shimano Ave in Forest Park, Lake Forest, California. We probably had the same desk. You probably had the same desk.
That building hasn't changed. So to shatter the glass for those of you watching right now or listening later, however this gets distributed, Shimano looks really imposing with all the packaging and stuff. The building in Irvine
it's a little cul-de-sac.
Yeah, it's very unassuming, kind of underwhelming, and the fishing department is actually a little bit more impressive than the bike department because they make more stuff than bike stuff.
For sure.
So it was a little bit weird for me to get adjusted, but yeah, I was one of the guys on the phone, so you may have even got me on the phone if anybody listening's from a bike shop. But glad to know that we have that in common, Dave. So when we were working there, I started racing a little bit more. We go to Dana Point, I'd go cheer friends on at other various races in Southern California. I never did a whole lot of USA cycling races for crits because they always really scared me. And I was never wanting to get in a pile up. But I actually found that cyclocross was what I liked the most. So the last few years of racing before I kind of hung up the towel for that was racing in the local cross series. And I ended up making it to the local men's elite groups for a few, and then I got kind of burnt out, so I decided to stop training. That's the brief history.
So yeah, then let's just jump right then into how did you end up at Zwift, and then we'll get into a little bit of the product stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So Zwift was funny. I was living in France for about a year, and I shipped my bike over, and I had this great idea that I was going to go have some epic, European romantic cycling vacation. But I ended up just doing a lot of local group rides with the same few people, so I didn't get to do anything crazy. Is how it all shook out. And I just put a really last minute post up on social media. I was like, "Hey, I need a job when I come back from Europe because I can't keep living for free, and Orange County is an expensive place to be."
You didn't turn out to be Flint Hemingway, huh?
No Hemingway, and I have no connection with any sort of espionage or spy movie either. I have to say. A friend of mine that I knew from Shimano actually messaged me and said, "Hey, you would probably be a good fit for Zwift. We need somebody that knows bike parts and can do customer support." And I said, "Okay, sure." So I applied and I went through a bunch of interviews. It was a very long process. And then they hired me on in August of 2019 to do French customer support. It was my very first job. So I was originally just responding in emails and really what I now know is awful French and non-professional, but I tried. And when we purchased Zwift Power, actually, is kind of how I found myself where I am now. So a lot of you will probably remember, and I'm going to say probably not so fondly, in the community that Zwift bought Zwift Power after helping James and Glenn support it for a while. And it was a pretty rough transition. And my initial involvement with that was just because I was still in customer support. Man, we need a lot of stuff to help people out with questions. And I started learning more and more about it. And working with a lot of engineers as they were learning it and stuff. And it sort of evolved into this team that we have that's mostly focused on competition and the pace partners and things we do with AI. And I worked my way into managing the product for that team quite fortunately. So I want to say that I'm super lucky, but it's been a weird journey to get here. So that's kind of how I found myself in this spot now.
Right on.
They want to give you credit then. We always complain when things aren't going well, but it looks like Zwift Power is doing much, much better lately. And I don't see people giving shout outs to Zwift Power. It's been really nice to have it be really smooth. So
yeah, well, hey, I appreciate that. And yeah, it was a rough few months for sure. There was a lot to learn, and to grant Glenn and James credit to kind of pass the torch that you have, Dave. Thank you. They built something great, right? Like that. Zwift Power is an institution in the racing community, and we've had this conversation many times of what do we do with it? And the answer is never turn it off. It's like we can't get rid of it. We have to keep it there because of what it provides to the competitive folks. It's such a boon. And I think what they built is really, really spectacular. I hope that we're remembering them well and what we've done with it since we've acquired it.
Yeah, it's the one.
I guess a question on that, Flint.
Yeah.
Sure.
Flint, what's the? I mean, I've gone on the forums. I've had a look. You've got a lot on your plate with things that you've got in the racing scene. I mean, we're here with the TTT in the racing community now. I mean, what do you see as the low-hanging fruit? What's the one thing you think you could do relatively easily and quickly? Relatively is crucial there. That would make the biggest impact on the racing community.
Well, I mean, in part, we've already done it at least a little, right? Like category enforcement was, I think, a really necessary step. It's not the silver bullet to racing. I really like what Martin has been doing with his auto categorization formula. I think something like that is more long-term, maybe what we could benefit from the most. But to get to that, like you say, relatively easily and quick, right? Like there's this common line that's been surfaced to me on the forums quite a bit, and rightly so, is, hey, don't try to boil the ocean. But I think that also speaks to the complexity of racing on Zwift as a whole, because you're trying to capture this nuance of real-life bike racing in a platform that wasn't initially designed to have racing on it, but now racing is such an institution on that platform that you have these things you have to sort of try to reconcile, right? So on the one hand, Anna, right, like category enforcement has shown that we can make these large cuts relatively fast and it can be effective. And then you're going to start to drill down more and more into these problems. The next thing that's right on our horizon that I'm hoping to have out in public testing relatively soon in the next coming weeks to few months is the hardware restriction. I've made some allusion to this on our forum post for our roadmaps, but it would just be basically making a line of delineation between hardware types so that, if you and I are in a race together, we know, okay, we're on relatively the same hardware and we're in categories that we should be in together, right? Like it gives you that peace of mind and that confidence and more importantly, that trust that you're racing with people that you should be racing with, just like we would outside, right? Like we all can tell when somebody's on the gear because they weren't that fast last year or they've been training really well and they shouldn't be in this category. We want the same to be true on Zwift, So that's what the two things we can do. Other than that, it's a really hard question to answer because I think those two things kind of bring us to that really high wall of, okay, what's the next best thing? But a lot of those next best things require a lot of definition. For instance, the next big cry, and I agree with the community, is for results-based categorization. But we can't have results-based categorization in a watts per kilo category system. And I don't want the experience to be so disjointed as it has continued to be. So it's kind of like, how would you solve that, right? Do we model it after USA Cycling? Do we take some pages out of UCI's book? Do we make our own thing? I'm just
going to be honest. I wasn't expecting Flint to bring that one up. I was like, okay.
I didn't say it was coming. I said that I agree that we should do it.
Gotcha. Okay. So this is Flint's opinion. Got it.
Yeah, this is 100% my opinion.
Got it.
So Flint, Nathan and I had the pleasure of being part of the Zwift Knockout series and getting to broadcast those 4 weeks of racing. And, just like WTRL is really unique and it brought a lot of people into racing because the format was something they enjoyed. And honestly, it's as community as it gets with WTRL and what Martin did with the team's time trial. There was something about Knockout series that appealed to a lot of people. Non-traditional bike racing, a really unique format that did involve bike racing. What were your thoughts on Knockout? Is that something that, what was the feedback that you heard?
The feedback was pretty good, right? Like I think Martin's got his ear to the ground in a lot of really good ways, and I like being able to work with him. quite closely. You know, he and I talk less regularly now than we did, especially because Zwift Power is running better and he uses that for a lot of his operation. But I do always think that he's got, you know, great ideas up his sleeve, and things like that are a massive success. We've also seen, right, like in track racing, for instance, a lot of the draw for people to ride on the velodrome is because you have those different formats, or things like gravel taking off, or people doing poker rides, or, you know, Phil Guyman with his like KOM challenges a few years back. Like, I think traditional bike racing will always have a place in cycling, but I think it's kind of going to become almost like second string for quite a while, if not forever, just because it's hard to get into. It's a little inaccessible for a lot of different reasons. And especially in a place like Zwift, you don't have to be bound by those old constraints, you know? So something like the Knockout Series, I would love to see us do in a more official capacity. I would love to see, you know, a version of Madison racing. I would love to see something where the goal is to, you know, beat like somebody's data in a group of 4 or whatever, you know, like anything that I could think of, like in this way. I 100% agree. Yeah, feedback was good, and I'd love to keep trying stuff like that. I don't have any personal visibility on like when we do, because again, there are a lot of those questions to answer, and we don't want it to be like kind of the old same experience. But yeah, I'd love to do that kind of stuff.
I feel like we hit the right
Flint,
now. I feel like we hit the right
Yeah.
now. We hit the what's coming, and then the big future almost of what you would like to see. Go ahead, Anna, though, before I move us on. Go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, it's just to pull in some of the questions from the community.
Yeah, I was going to do that last one
this-
from
this-
Karsten. That last one from Karsten,
yeah,
I think is really good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so Karsten's in the chat, and he's got the question around, I think this is one you're thinking, Nathan, is because he's got a few, but this one is, what about the growing user sort of proportions? What are you seeing here? Are we shifting to a bigger proportion of racers versus people sort of just getting on Zwift? Like, because I know there's a bit of a, you know, people get on, they experience it, they see a team, they join a team, then they're racing. Is that still what you're seeing as the pathway for people coming onto Zwift?
Yeah, in part at least, yes. There's no overwhelming solid answer that I can give where it's like, it's definitely this, you know, because just like cycling, Zwift has a lot of these different facets. Somebody might buy an inexpensive bike and a trainer simply to lose weight, and then they find themselves completely enamored with only riding with pace partners forever. Or they might find themselves getting sucked into racing by happenstance, and they really realize like, wow, I like this part of me. I like how this makes me feel. I want to do more. So just like in, you know, outdoor cycling, right? Like people will find their groove in Zwift. But what I'm finding is racing from pure statistics like standpoint in terms of proportion of population of like Zwifters overall, it's probably the smallest of pretty much anything that we do, right? But I think it's because it's really not that fun for the most part, and it's not fun for a few reasons, right? Like it's not fun because bike racing's hard. There's that old adage of like it never gets easier, you just pedal harder. But then the other part of it is that like the experience is kind of confusing to navigate. So sometimes you'll have the good fortune of, you know, you'll find the right group of people on a ride in an event that you join at random, and you think like, wow, I really like these people, and they'll help shepherd you along. I know that happens in a lot of the women's groups. And I wish that like other co-ed or men's centric groups would kind of do the same, because I think it's a great benefit for newer Zwifters. But then the other part is like, you can join a race, have no idea what power means, not understand watts per kilo, which happens quite regularly for a lot of people. And then you join the wrong category and you think, wow, that sucked. I don't want to do that again. And then you never come back. So really where we're kind of focused on is we believe that racing could be so much bigger, because I think Zwift has that aha moment. I've said this a lot, and I used to say it when I was selling bikes. Zwift suffers from the same thing that Di2 suffered from when Shimano first introduced it, is everyone goes, I don't know what that is, I probably don't need it. And then when they ride it on a test ride, they come back and go, wow, that was fantastic. I don't want to ride anything else. But you have to have it click. And I think bike racing, and especially bike racing on Zwift, has that same thing. So our whole goal is to first and foremost serve the people that are already racing and familiar with this ecosystem, and make it fairer and make them hopefully trust us more, that they're in a good race environment. The second is, now let's get more people into that, because we've seen that it can be really fun, right? So I hope that kind of answers the question of like what we're thinking about, but like proportionally, I don't have a solid answer, because
I love how you put the aha moment though, that aha moment idea, because a bike racer who jumps into Zwift gets the aha moment pretty quickly, right? Like somebody who's already really like a super serious bike racer, they're going to find that aha moment and know how to just jump in and suffer real quickly. Whereas like if you want to grow the racing community, I think part of why the TTT is so successful is because it adds a social element that kind of buffers to get you to that aha moment a lot easier.
Yeah.
Where if it's a solo experience, I definitely get what you're saying there. At first, when you're like,
absolutely,
when you said racing's not fun, I was like, who are you talking to? Like, but now that I heard you, yeah, exactly. No, I was like, wait a second, and I had to like really hear you out for a moment. And then when you got into the aha moment, I was like, oh yeah, wait, I've had aha moments for racing like since I was 2, so like it's just built into my blood.
Yeah, it happened to me in cross. Like every cross race, in the middle of the race, I was always thinking, I hate this. I don't want to be on my bike. And as soon as I got done, like that was so much fun. And those two things together, it really clicks. You're like, God, it's so fun. Like it's just a different way to have fun, right? And so I think we can do the same thing in Zwift with racing, but it's tough. It's even harder, I'd argue, than racing outside because it's way less personal sometimes. So yeah, that's yeah.
Anything else anybody wants to bring in before we let Flint go? I wanted to ask Flint one last question. Otherwise,
Sure,
yeah, just as far as like super excited, long-term roadmap, anything that you're like, I really want to, or just some. I mean, you already gave us their opinion, but like, where do you see something? Maybe I said like, well, what happened right now? And we said, well, cool, you guys have done. If you want to head over to forums, you can see all this stuff. But Pace Partners, you've obviously been working a ton on those. You can see all the updates on what's actually done. Expanding the Pace Partners has been happening, obviously, with the AI. Published category enforcement. You've got women-specific category enforcement events. That's done. You chatted a little bit about up next, in progress, hardware restrictions coming, and things along those lines. But what's like, is there something like dreaming up that you could speak to at all?
Man, that's always like the golden question, right? Like the rock in the hard place. So first and foremost, I can say near term, to elaborate on something I put in the roadmap post just earlier this month, the team time trial experience improvements, those are coming. We've been working closely with Martin on those. Basically, what you can expect is you should be able to pedal in the paddock. You don't have to disconnect your hardware. You can just join with your team when the event starts.
Oh, that's so cool. Together. I don't have to push A. Like I can just pedal. Yeah. Oh, it's so great.
Yeah. Exactly. You can just pedal, and you don't have to like do anything. There's a much better visual experience so that you can tell who you're supposed to be with. And then the other thing that's really exciting is you can now do a time trial on conceivably any route in the game, even if it's not fit for it or whatever. So you don't have to just keep doing Bologna over and over and over and over again. You can do an ITT or a triple T on any route, right? So I'm going to leave that to like Martin's discretion when we start organizing these things. I'm not going to say like it will be this route for sure, but like look for some variety this fall. Look for a better experience. There won't be nearly as much manual brain power required to join that triple T experience. And the same goes for ITT, right? Like it's not mutually exclusive. So in the near term, that's coming. I'm very excited about that. And like I said, I put that on the roadmap post, so that's not like cat's out of the bag. You heard it here first type of thing. As far as for what we're doing, we've got a couple of big things cooking up. I will not even give a hint as to what they are. I can say though, that like my excitement for those things is really hard to contain, particularly in instances like this when I get really excited and kind of caught by the bug of the production.
Well, maybe we'll have to talk to you next month then, Flint. Maybe next month or 2 months or 2 months or whatever it might be.
In the next couple of months, we'll have some big announcements for folks that I think will be quite exciting. And I want to just say that I believe that this fall on Zwift is going to be really fun. Whether you're strictly a racer or you've never raced before, we'll have something for everybody, I hope. And you'll kind of see that start to roll out. Last thing is, if you haven't done it yet, go try to join an event with an event pace partner. We just did some test events to do Alp target times. We want feedback. I do read the forums, even if I don't respond nearly as much as I used to. I promise you, when people are tagging me, I see it. And a lot of the times it's just a silent nod. I just don't believe in giving the same answer over and over of, yeah, we hear you, we're working on it, because that kind of
and that's
loses meaning.
forums.zwift.com. You can get direct access to Flint. Direct access.
To a limited degree, right? But I will be there, and I promise if I get tagged, I get notified, and I do read it.
Right on. Flint, I just want to say, huge thank you for coming on, sharing your time with us, sharing your story about how you got in with the Zwift community and all the hard work that you're putting in to enhance the game. A lot of the feedback lately over the last month or so, I know in the community, my personal Zwift channel, my Twitch channel has been like, wow, things are moving forward. We've seen that a lot in the chat as well here on ZCL. So we appreciate all the hard work you've been doing.
Thank you. I appreciate the kind words, and I want to say that it takes a village. We got a great team of engineers, and a lot of people at Zwift really want to make it good. It's not for lack of trying, So whatever I get to talk about is born on the backs of many. So recognition where it's due. But thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Of course, Flint.
I'll do it again.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we'll see you soon, and we'll have you on again sometime. Have a great rest of your day down there in SoCal, Flint.
Thanks, folks. Take care.
Well, it was good to have on
what a cool guy.
Voice from Zwift. Hey, Dave?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Flint's now, for sure. I love the fact that he's got this cool cycling history down there in SoCal as well. There's a lot of people who love
He worked at the same, I had no idea that he had
a small office too.
Same position as you. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's really interesting when you look at. He's 100% right. Fishing is a much larger industry than cycling, which I never would have thought, to tell you the truth.
But I didn't even know they did fishing stuff until I looked at a fishing pole that was in the garage and it said Shimano. I was like, wait, what? This is crazy.
Shimano, but if you think about it, bicycles are all about, what they make is basically brakes and gears, and fishing equipment is brakes and gears. When you've got a reel, that's what you're doing. It's basically like a super fancy derailleur and hub all built into one. So very, very interesting. So yeah, you get the feeling that if you want to work at Zwift, you really have to have a very interesting skill set and passions. That's for sure. So, Nathan, how are they doing out there? Today was 30 Ks of racing, and it looks like some of our teams are getting pretty close to finishing here. You're in with the Rhinos. They're one of our legendary teams. Anna, it's really nice to have you involved with the TTT Day now as well. And these Rhinos have been one of the most dominant teams. And I did want to note, Nathan, your comment earlier about the community. I think where you really, if you want to say, where does the community shine the brightest? It's in these MoCA categories, I would say.
Yeah, I think these categories definitely, I think when it comes to latte, MoCA, they are the highest participation for sure, especially at this time of year, which is really speaks a lot to their investment in the TTT. I mean, also though, espresso, interesting. I think people took a little bit of a break after ZRL from even the TTT, and then I think they got a bug and a little bit of it. I felt the itch to jump back in the TTT actually today after a little bit of a outside break, get outside, get my legs underneath me for maybe some outside racing, etc. And now I'm like, maybe I need to get back in here and do some over-under TTT action here. So Rhinos here, it looks like, bringing it in for them. This is going to be just our highlight right now at this moment for zone. We are in with the zone 13. And 14 right now. And the Rhinos are finishing up their zone 14. James Vanderhoof, Jim Hurrell, Kim Horner, actually. It's going to be a mixed team that's out here with Nicola Martinoli and Russell Hall. Anna, any thoughts on the product development stuff that we were talking about, though? I wanted to really quickly get any feedback from you there. I thought maybe you'd be excited about the hardware situation and the whole idea of making sure that everybody's racing on the same stuff, because that comes up a ton. Oh, Anna, did you mute? I think you might have muted yourself.
You know what? While we're bringing Anna on,
there we go. There we go.
Sorry. I was coughing.
That's a big deal, isn't it, Anna?
Spicy cough going on. Yeah, it's there's a lot of, the thing that I saw was there was a lot on his list, and so that's kind of why I asked the question of what can he do that makes the biggest impact? Because there was a lot going through my mind talking to him. I could have talked to him all day long. I think the hardware thing is a interesting one, and I'm coming from a women's racing perspective here. So I was just talking to my husband last night. Why are there not more women racing? And the thing that I just find a little risky with that is if we start to siphon down an event to say like, hey, this event is only for direct drive trainers and, you know, a few restrictions. In theory, that's awesome because you know you're racing on an even playing field. But then what if your even playing field suddenly goes from, you know, 30 races in Cat A down to 10? Then I still would prefer the 30. You know what I mean? So I think that one was an interesting question for me from a women's racing perspective. I do like it because I know sometimes when I'm racing, I'm looking and you always have the question in your head like, oh, what about that trainer? But that part for me isn't like the biggest low-hanging fruit. I think the part for me is actually more harping back to the question Dave asked, which was around race formatting. So, you know, we're coming up to, you know, our 4th season of ZRL coming up. I mean, I think registrations are opening before August 1st. And I'm excited for it. I love my team and it's really exciting. But I've been racing now for maybe 4 years and I'm like, I want to try something a little different. And it's the same you see in real life, right? People race on the road and then they go, you know, I want to try a bit of gravel, or I want to get out there and get on my mountain bike, or I want to actually go and do a triathlon. So I think there's the path. We just need to keep people engaged in it, if you know what I mean. So people have now, and this is why I'm thinking this season will be interesting, is people have been out in real life racing a lot more. And I think when they come back on Zwift, they'll want to see something new and exciting. And that's sort of, when he said the exciting stuff they're working on, I hope it's something around the flexibility and dynamics of racing, more the formatting as opposed to the sort of hardware side is what I was more excited by.
Interesting. And I definitely understand what you're saying there. And, you know, you spoke to, real quickly, just because you spoke to it just want to highlight that there's a couple of different things when it comes to formats and stuff like that coming down the pipeline, I believe. But the notice board here for the 2022-23 season 1 starts. It starts in September of 2022, as you can see. You can go ahead and check out the teams list. If you're looking for a team for the ZRL, you can go ahead and check out the teams list that's over on the website here, actually, for the Zwift Racing League. Head on over to WTRL/Zwift-Racing-League. And I know that Martin and the crew over there are always looking to innovate for sure, Anna. And I think that's also kind of what I think Flint was kind of getting at a little bit too, with the whole idea of how do we make this more fun, the idea of Madison racing, the idea of bringing in new ways to make this not just traditional scratch race type situation, which there's been a ton with the points structures, right? But even changing up a little bit more, it seems like you're aiming at, Anna.
Yeah, and even, I mean, we're trialing something here. I'm rolling out a whole bunch of smart bikes out to youth hubs around New Zealand. And one thing we're doing is just setting like a weekly or a monthly challenge. So, okay, the challenge this time is who can ride the fastest time around, say we're looking at Watopia Figure 8 on screen at the moment, who can ride the fastest time on that course? And something like that, like even a leaderboard or scoring. I saw that, I didn't want to put him in the hot seat, but I saw that he'd accidentally posted something up about scoring coming up and then said, whoopsie, I probably shouldn't have put that. So that always piques my interest. So, you know, leaderboards, scoring, just something, you know, that's quite dynamic. And, you know, I'm sitting here in the New Zealand off season and I'm like, oh, what do I get on Zwift to do at the moment? I mean, there's a few race series, but I'm not on Discord with my teammates, so it's less motivating for me to get on and race because I like the social part. So then mostly I'm kind of just getting on and doing workouts. And then if I'm getting on and doing workouts, the risk for Zwift, right, is, well, I don't actually need Zwift to go do a workout. Like I can go in and use one of their workouts, but I can actually just put on some music and do my own thing. So I think it's, something that would keep people just engaged and a little bit different. Everyone likes things different. Everyone likes new worlds, new roads, new racing formats. I mean, you know,
I was not planning on like this segue in any way whatsoever, actually. And you like made this absolutely perfect segue just now. So good on you, Anna. And I don't know if you did that on purpose or not, but it was pretty well done. In the lower right-hand corner, And you can see that Zwift GPS is there. If you head on over to the WTRL, now this is nothing that we're going to say is like super official or anything, but there's something kind of interesting over on WTRL's website right now. And at the top of their website, you will notice that Zwift GPS has now been added all the way on the left hand as a link. And if you hit that link, it will head you on over to Zwift GPS. In Zwift GPS, you can enter your Zwift ID into here, and there are some old games we used to actually play on. If you didn't, and a lot of people, this goes all the way back to like 2007, and some old school stuff. Gold Rush, which was a game that we actually played through Zwift GPS, was a part of this. And so I just wanted to bring this up because Anna, you were kind of talking about like new things that you can do, fun that you can have, and we actually used to play this game called Gold Rush. As you can see, I'm up here. This was a Zwift community live stream. I think this was a 2017 stream. There's scoring on the right-hand side here, as you can see. Mike Szymanski, Andy Lee, Jennifer, Dafford Williams, Johnny Noblet, Keith.
You haven't aged today. You have not aged. This is 2017.
2017. 2017. And so, as you can see here, though, I'm collecting coins out on the London course. And here you can see a little bit of like what that looks like, of where the coins are at, who's all out on course. And this is a map of the London course where I'm out there collecting coins. So a little bit of some interesting developments, it looks like. Not sure what WTRL is doing. I do know that it looks like they are now maybe owning the Zwift GPS, as it looks like the link is on their website. And who better, you guys, than those who came up with the TTT to take charge of something like Zwift GPS?
Yeah, I mean, this got me pretty excited. This is exactly what I'm sort of talking about. I can see Carsten in the chat saying, you know, I could go in and join one of the Absk Finesse. Gosh, I always probably say that wrong. Like group workouts. And yes, there is so much on there. But the problem is sometimes I'll say, yep, I want to do that workout. And then a child wakes up or something happens. There's something I like about this Gold Rush challenge, that I could go on and go do it and just go record a score. You know, it's sort of, I can get on in the time that I have, you know, randomly. And yeah, so that would sort of keep me, I'm a bit of a gamer, so this would keep me motivated. And I have, go Dave.
I was just going to say, Anna, that's exactly the charm. So it's interesting how some of these things are so fundamentally built into our DNA as human beings. But Nathan, this would go back into the 1970s with the high score on a pinball machine. Right? It would stay there statically, and people would constantly see what the high score was. And at some point, you got to put your initials next to it so you can identify as that high score. These things remain part of the human experience. And I fully could see where if you could start combining things, because there's a little bit of Mario Kart in that gold coin chasing around a map, and certainly and remember how we were playing around with the battery building boost concept, where if you worked super hard for a while, you could put a little of that power into reserve and then deploy it. These are all video game concepts, and no one could speak to that more than you, Nathan, for sure. You go to a level that I couldn't even imagine with this. I'm still at Donkey Kong while you're at Halo 64 or whatever. But at this point now, though, I can really see the charm. So it's this mix of bicycle racing, old school, just what makes us as human beings stay interested in things, and then the incredible WTRL and Nathan Z, what you do with Zwift Community Live, of bringing a community that has this shared passion together. It's pretty cool stuff.
Very cool. Yeah. Absolutely loving that. It looks like there's going to be some development down this line. As you can see, one of the names here in the lower right-hand corner of this old school broadcast. This is way old school broadcast here. Blue headphones and all, Nathan. What are you doing?
Steve Beckett.
Steve Beckett was winning the Gold Rush. Whoa. He was participating in the Gold Rush. Wow. If you didn't know, he's the head of marketing, and he absolutely loved it. Yeah. He was a big pusher, actually, of let's get good Gold Rush going. And then Matt Rowe from Rowan King was participating as well. Tom Hargreaves was in there as well, one of the marketing guys over at Zwift. So they obviously have been really involved from the get-go when it comes to making Zwift fun, which is really cool to see. So another one of the highlights we wanted to bring in from the community and what's going on here with WTRL as well. Well, it is still TTT Day. We are changing up the show a little bit, as everybody can see, with making sure that we're going across the breadth of the community and talking about what's happening in the community. Next week, we have BBB jumping in with us. Dan Pedrosa's jumping in chat, everybody. He says Gold Rush was a blast. I didn't know that Dan played Gold Rush.
I didn't know Dan was around then either. Dan is our friend from Austin, Texas. He would rival your teammate there, Anna, Christina Grossman, as a friend of dogs. He is unbelievably active in getting animals homed, finding new partners for them. One of our, you've ridden with him a decent amount lately, Nathan. Dan is a real strong force in our community. I'm a huge fan of that guy.
Super strong force. I am seeing Sweet Cyclist. Are you heading toward my house, Sweet? Because I know that you might be racing Toad. Speaking of people who are in the community and hanging out this week.
I met Whitney Post's entire family at one point, Nathan. You know what it's like when we're announcing in real life together, right? We kind of get focused and we're doing our thing and trying to call out names. I had a little tap on my shoulder and I turned around and it was two charming women, and they were the grandmas of Whitney Post. So both of Whitney's grandmas were there coming to watch her ride. Someone came down from New York State all the way to North Carolina. I was like, man, Whitney Post, who's a friend of ours from Zwift Community Live as well. Do you race with her, Anna? No, she was in America's West. You were in America's East. But
I've raced against her before, though. Yeah.
Yeah, and she and her partner. And by the way, Nathan, I found out because of the official paperwork that Michael Sweet's real name is David Sweet, just so you know.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. But he likes to just go by Sweet. So that's all. He just wants to be
we'll
sweet.
just call him Sweet. I'll call him Sweet when he gets here.
And he is sweet. All of our staff out there, these two have become just almost like the mascots of the Belgian waffle ride. They're such wonderful kids or people. They're not kids. They're kids to me.
Kids to you. Well,
I'm old now, Anna. So.
As we are doing the day of WTRL TTT, we definitely want to highlight how things have played out so far today and then push you all toward the rest of the day to watch those who are streaming their TTT experience over on Twitch. But let's go ahead and take a look at the results so far. It is going to be out of the Platinum League again. BBB have just been unstoppable, and, well, they're the only ones showing up, though. Vienna Espresso here, 44-24 here coming in for BBB, and we'll see them next week for our community interview to jump in with number 166. Anna, what's happening with the Vienna Frappes here?
Oh, my team, the Cheese Rollers, awesome. They've taken that out by a pretty big margin over Crush Pod Spiced Frappe with one less rider as well, 38 seconds there. Socks for Watts, Odd Socks. They're back to a team of 8, so that is a legit win by the Cheese Rollers. 124 back, Coalition, Amalthea. They were in 4th. NZ Bro have Lovers in 5th. WTRL Wattbees in 6th. NZ Bro Lollycakes, that's a lot of teams in there. They're in 7th. Z Sun Pluto's in 8th, Ravon in 9th, and the Zert Juliet's in 10th.
And let's head on over to Dave. What's happening with the Vienna Lattes?
Well, Galaxy Star Surge, Nathan, in full effect. Is there going to be a little quicker than Crush Pod 2? When I say a little, 35 seconds is not that much. And Vegan Mint is going to round out our top 3 there. So that's a good look at the Vienna Lattes today.
Galaxy Star Surge is a new team as well, so good to see a new team with the Galaxy crew. I believe that's probably a shoot off of the Supernovas, so nice job to them. And then in with the Vienna's Adam Racing Team Electros make it happen again. ZR Scott Alba come on through for that 2nd place. And then it is going to be WCC Infernos in for 3rd. It's going to be 2 guys, Breezes for 4th, Owl Bike for 5th, ZR Scott Aria in for 6th, Zed Sun Hydra in 7th, Zed Sun Neowise for 8th, Galaxy Supernova Blast in 9th, and NZ Bro Pie Sandwiches. That is going to be 10th place as things stand across all of the zones right now. Still a few zones out there finished up. We're going to have 15 through 17 still out on course for the rest of the day, but this is as it stands in number 165 for the women. On the men's side of things, Anna, it's NZ Bro, Peka. This team is just crazy.
And did they take out Saris? No way. So NZ Bro Peka
by 16 seconds.
Saris Nopins. Whoa. And I've been told in chat, Saris Nopins did win a race with only 4 riders. And so they're a full-on team. So NZ Bros, chapeau. That's awesome. And then NZ Bro squeezing in Saris in 3rd place as well. So NZ Bro, the Monteith Monsters. That's a beer brand in New Zealand, by the way.
I was wondering what that was about, actually. Here, real quickly. And the crazy thing is Slurtzik has a faster time, actually. At a 37:46, so for the course record. So Peka not with the fastest time ever. It's only 4 seconds though, so it was pretty close. The NZ Bro team, they though not only the fastest time ever, but also the fastest time today, and I think those are going to be the top 2 ever fastest times. I would not be surprised if that were true. So they know how to do Watopia figure 8. Wow. Espresso SRT with a 39:02 in the Espresso category here. Eat Dirt Animales there again for second. Evo Warriors 39:32. Very close racing between them. 3-second difference for second and third. Down and Dirty Vipers come through for fourth. It's going to be Burrito Titans in fifth. Evo Espresso in sixth. Team Nico Mata in seventh. Evo Vortex Psychopaths in eighth. Valhalla Daneslife in ninth. And Riding Dirty. Currently, as things stand, that is going to be your top 10 in the Espressos for number 165. Dave.
Let's hit Atomic Racing Team, the mighty ART, and a Team Atomic there with a 40:58. That's our fastest time so far. As Nathan mentioned, there's a lot of Platinum League that we're looking at here in this group, but there's still teams that'll be out racing today, so these are not the definitive finals. Zedsun R Vulcan, that's going to be our second quickest time, and then we've got CMC. So there they are, CMC. It's going to be fun to watch this program grow. Express 2 for third right now. RR Rapid Rhinos, fourth quickest. Dirty Rascals Rip Snorters, cool name, in fifth. Valhalla Leg Fighters sixth. Tuga Z Volado in seventh. R3R Queen in eighth. NZBRO, which is New Zealand Bicycle Racing Online, the Pawaka Wakas, which are these terrifying birds, ninth. And Eat Dirt of 007, License to Kill, in 10th right there. Anna, you ever come across a Pawaka Waka in nature?
Yeah, they're in my backyard all the time. All the time. They're fantails. So, I live kind of pretty near the bush, and so we get a ton of native birds.
Just walk around terrified then outside the house?
Yeah, we've always thought that they were like these killer birds, the way Dave puts it. Like they're these horrible birds that are going to kill us.
No, they're like songbirds or something. Right?
Yeah, they're songbirds, and they follow you around.
Oh, cute. Well,
Anna, go ahead and take it away because bro, they're just dominating 1 and 2.
Okay, I feel
birds
like
don't sound as cute. Mutton, they eat dead sheep.
So mutton
I think,
birds,
right?
though. No. Mutton birds are massive. It's also a band we had, the Mutton Birds, instead of the 80s. Also a very good bird apparently to eat, but they're protected and you can't eat them. So, but apparently delicious. NZ Bro, the Jandal, they're in second. Jandals are a flip-flop for you guys. Team ODZ, Destroyers of Cookies. That's awesome. Vikings Valhalla in fourth. Cryogen Emus in fifth. ATP Racing Nitrogen in sixth. TT1 A1Cs in seventh. DZR Chonky Chasers. I love these names. They're in eighth. TT1 Lancets in ninth. And the BMTR Pandas in 10th, 2 minutes back.
That's the lattes. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, for Nathan, some of those names are old hat. Like Destroyer of Cookies doesn't even get a laugh anymore, Nathan, from you because it's been around for a couple of years, right? So, but hey, how about Zedsun R? Stellar top team here in our Mochas today so far. Ripping 49-37. Good job. TFC Hurricane, that's the Friday Criterium Hurricane Edition with the 50:04. That was super close. RR Sumatra Rhinos third quickest time. Eat Dirt Twa in fourth. It's the Gluconauts of Team Type 1 in fifth. Coalition Tempest sixth. Cryogen the Kites in seventh. So a kite is a kind of bird. there, obviously. 8th is going to be the Crouch Snow Geese, Evo Fusion Tornadoes in 9th. So we've got hurricanes, tornadoes, all kinds of birds, and Zert Charlie. Rounding
must be out of the 10. Midwest with the way the storms have been coming.
Yeah, weather on their mind, right? So Zert Charlie, I guess down there you'd call it a cyclone. Wouldn't you, Anna? You don't have tornadoes,
yes, a cyclone. Well, we have tornadoes, but we don't have hurricanes. Our hurricanes are called cyclones because they go in the opposite direction. That's why.
Like your toilets.
I had no idea. Interesting.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
There we go.
Well, I was wrong earlier because the update on our boards, Beach Island Loop, is actually next week.
Now we're going there.
Now it's right. So number 166 will be the Beach Island Loop. Let's go ahead and see if I can just reload this page and get it correct here for everybody. There we go. 166 Beach Island Loop. It says France, though. I don't know what's going on, so I'm confused.
Beaches in France, but not this one.
We'll see which one it is. We'll figure it out, everybody. Head on over to WTRL.racing, and you will be able to register before 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Central. If you've never done one of these races before and you don't know how to sign up, well, go over there and register your team. Well, it's been a ton of fun, everybody. As you can see, the highlight still here for Gold Rush in the lower right-hand corner. I'm super excited about what might be coming with Zwift GPS down the road. Be on the watch out for more announcements from WTRL for that, as well as the Zwift Racing League and what's coming from them for September. The classics are coming quickly. Be on the watch out for announcements for the Zwift Classics throughout July and into August. We will be broadcasting some of those. It's been really fun to see everybody hanging out in chat. Any final thoughts from either of you? Dave, we'll go to you first.
Sure. I just wanted to say I really missed you guys, and I missed this whole community. Even though I've had fun not working with doing this stuff for the last couple of weeks, it's really, really good to be back. And Nathan, your energy and all the hard work, and also Martin, too, behind the scenes. I'm looking forward to a really fun next few months coming up. And Anna, I love having you on the Thursday show now. It's really cool to be able to add you in.
Oh, thanks, Dave. And I missed you guys too. I mean, it's great. I have to admit, I like the sleep-ins. I did like sleeping in a little bit. But I love Zwift racing, and I haven't raced for the last few weeks. So now I've got my fix and I'm feeling energized for the day. So that's always a good thing, right? Gives you more energy. Love it.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Well, it's great to be back, everybody. We will see you next week. If you want to check out more and Zwift content that is live, head on over to twitch.tv and check out the Zwift game category. There'll probably be people streaming their TTT. I'll stream maybe a TTT later tonight. I still got to see if there's a team open for me, but definitely a place that you can do it. A big push actually coming from myself and Zwift Community Live is to grow that community specifically to get streamers partnered actually over on Twitch. So head on over there and help out that community because it takes a lot of work to get going in the world of streaming, as I think Anna would definitely attest to as well. It's a ton of heavy lifting, but it's really worth it in my opinion to share that experience with everybody. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Hit those follow, subscribes, likes, comment. It helps out the channel a ton. And we'll see you next week for the next TTT. As always, everybody, ride on. Thank you.